Hey guys, I want to welcome you to another edition of Halftime Chat. And one of the things I'm trying to do a lot more of is actually do live interviews. And as what you'd see today, I have a live interview with a good friend, DJ Soulchild, coming out of Switzerland. But he's really steeped in R&B and hip hop and it's going to be great just talking to him, hearing his story, um, you know, his involvement in the music scene, especially out in Switzerland and around Europe, and just hearing his story. So I'm waiting for him to join in, and it should be a good interview.
Hey,
Okay, grand entrance. How you doing?
hey, how's it going, Namdi? Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, I'm doing great. You know what? I didn't realize that you were an hour ahead of us here in the UK, so it must be quite a little bit late over there.
Just a little bit, but it's tolerable. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Okay.
I'm glad to be
Well,
here. Thank you for having me.
yeah, no, it's great. And as I said, one of the things I've just been telling everyone as I've started is that I try to mix things around going live, um, and especially if you may get comments from those who are watching throughout and stuff. But
Yeah,
as I talk to all my guests, we have an international audience, so it'd be great to just to hear your background, where you're from, and start from there.
absolutely. Well, I'm one of your international audience, so I'm one. Do you know what? Before we start, can I just give you your flowers real quick, Namdi? I've been one of your day ones. I have been there watching as a fan and rooting for you since you had under 1,000 subscribers. And I think your first interview was Father MC, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I've been there since the very beginning. I've been a huge fan, and I've been following your journey up until these 142K followers that you have now. You put in the work, you have grinded. I'm so proud of you, and you're doing it for the culture, and it's much needed. So much love to you, Namdi.
Thank you very much. And actually, it's the community of people within Halftime Chat has really helped because
Mm.
I mean it is sometimes it was challenging and sometimes I'm talking to these guys the artists, and when you hear the feedback from those who are watching and saying, oh man, I didn't realize that, then it's like, wow,
Yeah.
okay, let's get
Mm.
more on and stuff. So I appreciate it, and it's
Yeah.
we all love music, and R&B
Yeah.
doesn't get celebrated. If I was running a gossip site, oh goodness, yeah, I'd have a million people following, and they'll push that. But when you're celebrating the culture, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I appreciate it.
No, seriously, man. I'm just so proud of you, man, and see how far you've come. And yeah, man, I'm just so honored to be here because you've interviewed like all the legends and all the people I've looked up and grown up to, and then it's even more an honor for me to be on this platform. So thank you for having me. So
Okay.
yeah, but to your question, as you can all tell out there, my accent is British, but I do live in Switzerland. But I was born on the island of Jersey in the Channel Islands, and
Okay.
yeah, people will be scratching their heads in the States right now. Jersey, New Jersey? No, not New Jersey. It's New Jersey. Always have to make that clear. And I spent my first 9 years there before
Okay.
we moved to Switzerland. I don't recall any grand memories of my father when I was smaller because my parents, they divorced when I was 4 years old. And so it's just me and my mum for a while, and just living with my granddad at the time, and growing up with my cousins Michelle and Sarah. Shout out to them. And yeah, and also Ian. I can't forget Ian, my cousin Ian in Jersey. And yeah, and it all took a turn when we went on holiday one day. I was about 7, I think. Went to Biarritz, which is in, I think, on the border of France and Portugal. Went camping, and whilst we were there, our house got burnt down. Someone had thrown, yeah, a gas lamp or some sort of gas bomb into the house, and
Deliberately. Wow.
yeah, and my granddad was living there at the time. So he got singed and burnt, and we came home to no home, basically. So yeah, everything was black. It was burnt to cinders, and so a lot of memories and photos of that time just went missing because they got burnt in the fire, which is very unfortunate. And so we were homeless, me and my mum, for a while. We didn't have a roof over our heads. We had nowhere to go. My mom was a struggling single parent anyway, trying to provide for, for us both, and no man in her life. But basically, just about a year later, she met my stepdad, who I see as my dad nowadays, and they fell in love. And he was offered a job in Switzerland as a marketing manager, and that's why we moved country, and that's why
Wow.
I'm here. And yeah, and this is home to me now.
And moving to Switzerland, did you have to learn? I don't, I know they speak, I think, German, French, or what is it? What do they speak in Switzerland?
We've got 5 languages.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got German, we've got French, we've got Italian, and we've got Rätoromansch, which is it's like a dialect in Switzerland, but it's more more up in the mountains. And oh no, sorry, it's not 5, it's 4. It's 4. My bad. So yeah, we got 4 languages, and I came to Switzerland not knowing a single word of German. But I was tossed into an international school in the first year that we came here, just so I could, feel at home, I guess, amongst, English-speaking people and kids, in my age. And of course, in that school, you learn all the basics of German, like, how are you? My name is, and how much does this loaf of bread cost? Like simple stuff. And but after a year, I was thrown into the Swiss school, and my German was not good at all after 1 year, because you do not learn a whole language in 1 year. It's just not possible. So I was quite the outsider, the outcast in school. I got bullied a lot because I didn't understand language, and I was like, I was fodder for the kids, like.
Wow.
And so yeah, that was quite rough. But I prevailed, and I picked up the language quickly. I learned how to defend myself verbally, also physically, because up to that point I'd lived quite sheltered with my mum, in Jersey, and I was never an aggressive or violent kid at all. But these kids, they brought out the worst of me, and so I had to, defend myself and fight back, and which ended up with me taking a ping pong bat, because ping pong was like the sport of the breaks in that school.
Yeah. So that's table tennis kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this one guy, his name is Eddie. I still remember him very clearly, and he always tried to sort of pick on me, and he would like slap me in the face with his ping pong bat, or try and trip me up whilst we're playing ping pong. And it was like every break until I just got, I just had enough. So I snatched his ping pong bat out of his hand and hit him across the face and knocked out 2 of his teeth, his front teeth. And I was shocked myself because, like I said, I had never done anything violent up to that point, but they just brought me to that boiling point where I had to learn how to defend myself. And then, of course, I was called to the, well, my mom and my dad, they were called to the school, and we had like a meeting with the teacher and the, the headmaster. And they were so shocked by what I'd done, because that's not how they, raised me to be or knew me to be like. So, and during that conversation with the teacher, my mom was like, "I'm so disappointed in you, Denny. I can't believe you did this to this kid." And, and I was like really shocked, because like, wow, my mom's not even sticking up for me. And then the moment we went home, she turned around to me and said, that act I put on in front of the teacher before? I'm so proud of you, son. Stick up for yourself. Yeah, that's how you do it. And she was like bigging me up, and, and so, my mum, she really taught me to defend myself and look out for myself in life, and not take any shit from anyone. So, yeah, so that was like the bumpy beginning coming to Switzerland, I guess. And after that, all the kids wanted to be my friend, because they respected me after that move, because I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming. But yeah, and so I just gradually learned the language, which is German, of course, Swiss German dialect out here. And yeah, and in the school here in Switzerland, you learn different languages. So eventually French came, and the kids learn English. But I had that as a, my mother tongue anyway.
Yeah.
So I was there, like, yeah, like making, bringing home these super grades, and French actually seemed quite easy to me because I have French blood in me. Like my granddad, he was from Brittany.
Okay.
So I picked it up very quickly, and it felt very natural to speak French. So yeah, so I ended up coming out of school speaking 3 languages and having opportunities, great job opportunities and stuff. So yeah, it all turned out, for the best, I guess.
How did you then make your transition into music? Because I don't know what type of music we for the UK, we're very influenced by a lot of American music and vice versa, and
Mm.
it's because the music is the same language. In Switzerland, what kind of music were you listening to?
Well, when we got to Switzerland, I was 9, so I hadn't discovered music quite yet. But I do recall my mum doing the housework to, certain songs and artists like, uh, for example, Stevie Wonder, Average White Band, Whitney Houston, Tears for Fears, Michael Jackson, UB40. Like she was very much into black music and blue-eyed soul, like soulful music and groovy music. And so that had a major impact and influence on me. That gave me like my starting grounds, as a tastemaker of music. And then when I was 11, I was still playing with Transformers and my toys back then, but I discovered MTV all of a sudden.
Mm.
And the first 3 videos I recall seeing, which really blew me away, was Bobby Brown, Every Little Step,
Okay.
Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation, and Color Me Bad, I Want to Sex You Up. So
Okay.
there's me being an 11-year-old, not knowing what the hell Color Me Bad is talking about in those lyrics. Want to sex you up, what? But I thought it was cool. I thought it was groovy. I loved the dance moves they had going. I loved the harmonies, the soulfulness.
Mm.
And so I was just like instantly hooked. And so at night, I would just creep down because I saw like these adverts for the soul of MTV, throughout the day. But it came like after 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. that time.
Mm.
And me as 11, 12-year-old, I wasn't allowed to stay up that late. But I crept out of bed and downstairs into the living room just so I could watch the soul of MTV, super quiet, hoping my parents wouldn't hear me. But of course, they heard me,
Yeah.
and they sent me right back up to bed again. So yeah, they tried to stop that, and but that ended up with me trying to discover it in other ways, which was me going to town, into the city by myself, and discovering record stores. So I started collecting music at the age of 11 with pocket money.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'd go to this certain store in Basel, like all the old school people from Basel, they'll remember this store. It's called Soundbox. And that's where all the new imports were, delivered to, and you could go listen to these listening booths and then pick out
Yeah.
CDs.
Listening booth, yeah.
And in the cash desk and say, hey, I want this one. They give you the CD, and I would just spend hours in there listening to music, trying to discover new stuff and something that sounded like what I, was introduced to by MTV. Like, oh, what is this? I didn't know it was called R&B. I didn't know it was called New Jack Swing at the time. It just caught me. I was just, oh man, I was just instantly caught by this music, and I just tried to sort of soak up whatever I could in these CD stores and start collecting music and developing my ear for different sounds and different artists and yeah, just trying to discover as much as I could,
Well, I'm wondering though, because generally, not many in Europe, and being white, you would think you'd gravitate to pop or rock
Mm,
as
mm,
opposed to R&B.
yeah,
So I'm wondering, why do you think you gravitated to R&B and New Jack when I know it, loads of people from cultures around the world, Japan and stuff,
mm,
love R&B and New Jack. So
yeah,
but I'm just wondering for yourself, with everyone around you might be listening to more pop rock.
yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, it was my mum really that gave me
Okay.
that that starting point, you know, where she played all these artists at home. So it was familiar to me. The sounds, these harmonies, this soulfulness, it was all familiar to me. And I found these elements that I had been brought up on in this current music, which was New Jack Swing at the time. Like I found all these similarities. Like, oh, this is nice. This is fresh. This is different from what my mum listens to, but it has what I like about that music she was listening to. You know, it has that soulfulness, and like I said, and the arrangements, and yeah, I don't know. Since then, I've just been an R&B soul kid. As you can tell in the background, I've got my music collection there. Tons. So yeah, it's about, I don't know, about 3,000 of them there or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, and I still collect music. I still collect CDs to this day. I mean, whenever, you know, these artists do put out new music on CD, I try and buy as much as I can to support them. And I just love having the, you know, the tangible physical copy in my hands and reading all the, you know, the liner notes and credits.
The liner notes, yeah.
And that's what actually sort of helped me find these new artists, these other artists, because I was reading liner notes, I was reading credits, I was, you know, who was the songwriter, who was the producer, who was the executive producer on the back of the album.
Oh,
you
so
know?
you're doing stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's the. I mean, I used to. I used to go into record stores and read the Billboard magazine to see who's who and stuff. I was just so infatuated with everything, and I would see what studios they were recording the music to see if, and then the engineer to see what the sound. So people like Dave Way and John Marie, you know, you know them just because you're reading and absorbing stuff.
Right. So yeah, it was like Jam and Lewis, you know, for Janet Jackson. So I would look at, you know, the R&B soul section or, you know, urban section. I'd go and see, you know, who's on the back, who's the executive producer, read the liner notes whilst I'm listening to it at the store, and like, oh, Jam and Lewis, oh, I remember them from Janet Jackson. And, you know, I'd put all the bits together, you know, and oh, Teddy Riley, who's this Teddy Riley guy? And I'd think, wow, his drums are incredible. And, you know, and the funk and the oomph in his music and in the beats, man. I was like, shit, Teddy is the man. I need to know more about this Teddy guy. So I'd, you know, try and find out more about Teddy Riley releases. So, and just went on then from, you know, from there.
Did you have any favorites in those early days?
Favorites? Of course, Bobby Brown. I love Bobby Brown, especially the Bobby album. I think that's the best work. I know people are going to say "Don't Be Cruel" is, you know, the classic, like the Guy first album is the classic.
Anyone that knows me knows that I keep pushing that Bobby album.
Me too, man. Oh,
I think it was Teddy's. It's hard for me to because I'm a biggest Teddy Riley fan. It's hard for me to decide whether it's the Make It Last Forever album or the Bobby album is Teddy's greatest body of work on an album.
Ever.
Well, I'm talking, you know, because he did all 8 songs on Make It Last Forever, even though Don't Stop Your Love, he co-produced it, but he produced the whole album. Then he produced 7 out of the 14 songs on the Bobby album. So he did the bulk of the production.
Yeah.
But his production on the Bobby album was just like, okay, first album after Rex and Effects, when he got to his studio, got to Virginia, got his whole crew, and it was like no Gene, it was just him. And, you know, he got nominated for Producer of the Year for that album. They couldn't include the stuff he did on Dangerous because he didn't fully produce them. It's, you know, so that's why it's a battle. But I love the Bobby album. Unfortunately, it didn't get marketed properly and stuff. But anyway, back to you. So
Good to You was supposed to be a single, in my opinion.
They messed the whole album promotion up. They actually Gerald Busby and Louis Sowers Jr. No, actually, it was Louis Sowers who was responsible for the Bobby album. He said he wanted to emulate what he did with the Don't Be Cruel album. So put out 2 LA and Babyface tracks, and then put out the Teddy stuff. And he realized that no, you can't have Humping Around, which was an imitation of New Jack, when you had the King of New Jack producing stuff which was 10. You know, that's the way love goes. 2 Can Play That Game. You know, those were heavy tracks. I think
one
That's the
more.
Way Love Goes featuring our Kill would have been in. You know, we've just had Rumson's Rump Shaker, so
Yeah, yeah,
having a track with new Rex and Effect would have just been amazing.
yeah.
Two can play that game.
Mm.
It was just then. Of course, my all-time favorite is One More Chance. But it was just insane how they marketed the album, and yeah, anyway, I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
upset, but I
Yeah,
still own the album and I still enjoy it and stuff.
yeah, me too, me too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
I'll throw a spanner in the works. So you say "Don't Be Cruel" or Keith Sweat's album is Teddy's best.
no, no, no,
Pop.
not the Don't Be Cruel. It's the Bobby album or Make It Last.
Oh, the Bobby. Yeah, sorry, yeah, Bobby album. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw one in there. Blackstreet debut album.
Um, I enjoyed. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I think he was too heavily influenced by the West Coast, and he was doing. So he did all the. He left James Brown, which he was doing, he was doing for his lot of New Jack, and
Yeah.
started to do a lot of the West Coast stuff because he saw what was happening with Dre and Chronic. So he had a lot of that stuff in there.
Love
And
that West Coast element about the funk he put in that album. Like that
yeah,
was like a it was like how do you say it was like New Jack Swing, but the next sort of wave. Like he really developed his sound. He sort of refreshed himself. And that album is literally my all-time favorite R&B album.
wow, the Backstreet album.
Yes, absolutely. It's back to front. I could just let it play, and I never get sick of it ever.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I am overly biased when it comes to Teddy and when it comes to anything he does.
Mm,
And I moved to by the time I moved to America in '92, so I was getting them. I was buying all the singles and everything, and I was watching, and I loved the album, so it would be my top five Teddy full production
yeah.
stuff. But
Mhm.
I think Make It Last Forever is my favorite. Bobby's just close second.
Right, right.
I would probably go with the first Guy album, and I'll probably go with the Future because the Future is when I really bought. That was my first album that I actually bought,
Oh, really?
and
Okay.
that was when I listen to the Future, it brings back more memories than anything else. So Make It Last Forever and the other albums, I sort of discovered later on, but the Future was one of the first ones I could buy. Had the
Mm.
CD, and I was obsessed with everything that Teddy did on that. So
Same, same. Yeah.
yeah.
I respect your choice. I mean, there is no wrong answer. You know, I mean, all those albums are incredible. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But going back to that, so
Mhm.
when you are, so yeah, I mean, but what else were you listening to that you really, that you really admired and stuff?
Michael Jackson. My first cassette that my mum gave me was "Bad" by Michael Jackson.
Okay,
Um, yeah. So she gave me 3 cassettes. She gave me Simply Red. Was it Stars? I think, or wow, was it Stars, or was it A New Flame? No, it was A New Flame by Simply Red.
okay,
Michael Jackson, Bad, and Tears for Fears songs from the Big Chair.
wow,
So I had that Tears for Fears influence. Like they weren't like an R&B group at all. It was more like
mm,
synth pop, you know, with a little bit of rock influence, but
yeah,
some soulful elements and some the groove patterns in there were very black music influenced.
yeah, yeah,
So I really, you know, like Shout, for example. So I really loved that. I loved Everybody Rules the World by Tears for Fears. That was my all-time favorite song when I was a kid.
mm,
Um, so I had that element. So I learned to respect pop and rock music and different sounds as well.
yeah.
But yeah, I would always come back to the, you know, the R&B stuff, you know, and that was just what really sort of moved my heart and touched my soul the deepest, you know.
But in Switzerland, because as I said, and you probably know when I interview any of the guests, they're very much from El Barge for whoever it is, they're very much thinking about their influence in America. They
Yeah,
have not a few of them come to Tops of the Pops or go around to Germany around and tour, but they don't realize how big their stuff is outside of America
yeah,
because America is a massive market and stuff. And if you
mm,
go platinum or double platinum America, you don't necessarily think about Europe and stuff unless you're a big pop star.
yeah.
So who else was there a community of R&B fans in Switzerland to support these? these artists to come to perform in Switzerland because
You know that?
it's supported there.
Well, around that age that I was at, where I was listening to, discovering Color Me Bad and Guy and Heavy D and Janet Jackson. I can't speak for that because I wasn't mingling in groups. I was amongst my kids. Like I said, I was an outsider.
Oh yeah.
All my kids' friends, they were still playing toys, playing with toys or kicking around the football on the field, and I was just so into music, and I had, David Hasselhoff, David Hasselhoff. He was like one of the top artists in Switzerland that time. Like, it's so random. And MC Hammer was big. Vanilla Ice, that was sort of, lent towards what I was liking. Phil Collins was very big, when Another Day in Paradise dropped around that time. My friends loved that. So they were all listening to different stuff than I was, essentially. I was really an outcast in many ways. So all the music discovering that I did, I had to do by myself because I didn't know of a scene at that age. And to be honest, even nowadays, there's still no R&B scene out here. Like, radios don't even play R&B. Like, there's no platform for R&B music.
Wow.
We have like a whole bunch of great R&B vocalists and artists out here, but they just don't get the platforms and the looks that they deserve at all, which is really sad. But I'm trying to change that very soon with a project, which I'll tell you about. And so, yeah, I mean, there was a peak time, at the end of the 90s where Brandy was big and Destiny's Child,
And, TLC.
Usher, You Make Me Wanna.
TLC.
TLC, Scrubs and all that. And that was being played on mainstream radio. There was that sort of peak time. But before that and after that, it just...
What about when Diddy and Bad Boy did his... Dre and Snoop, was that given any airplay out there?
Do you know what? I think Dre and Snoop was almost too hardcore for Swiss radio. Swiss radio is just like it's very soft rock and very sort of catchy pop, and even like folk music and like they just don't fit that scheme at all.
Yodeling and all that stuff.
Well, you've got channels for that, but it's not like daytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
But thinking about that then, so when you were into the music, did you then was there any idea that you may want to get into music at all when after you finished say secondary school?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what did you want to do?
Around the same time, I also discovered New Kids on the Block.
Okay.
Because they were
not New Edition. You got the
yeah, exactly. So Maurice Starr, who's this Maurice Starr guy? Oh, New Kids on the Block. Who are they? And they were like huge at the time. Coming off the Hang Tough album into the No More Games. No, what was it? Step by Step first, and then No More Games. Yeah. That period was huge for New Kids on the Block in Europe. So you couldn't get past them, and I'd watch their their performances and interviews and stuff. And I was like, man, these guys have got it going on. Like, this is crazy. Like, they're on tour having a great time. We've got this brotherhood amongst them, all these girls screaming at them, and they get to sing catchy pop songs and just have, live the life, Yeah. And that was the moment I just said to myself, do you know what? I want to be a musician. I want to do that right there. Yeah. I want the pandemonium. I want the fans screaming in my ear. I want, I want to be respected for what I do, So that inspired me a lot. And when I was 12, I wrote my first song.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't ask me how it went anymore. I mean, it's a notebook that was probably stashed away in a box somewhere in my parents' house still. But I wrote my first song with 12 because I just knew, okay, I've got to start somewhere. I don't know, it's probably terrible, but
could you sing as a kid?
No, because I was a shy kid, and so I didn't really dare to sing at home, especially not in front of my parents and not in front of my mum, because she was like my biggest critic. Like, she was very harsh. She was very loving, but at the same time, she was very direct and honest, and I was afraid of that.
Okay.
And so I actually started out rapping when I was 15. So I formed a rap group with 3 of my best friends at school, and we were called Force Field at once. That was
Field.
Yeah, like no one can sort of reach us. No one can, come you know, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And yeah, and we didn't like the name. We sort of, you know, fell out of love with it, and we thought, you know, what should we call ourselves? And we thought, well, let's sort of utilize the name in a way. Let's use the first two Fs, you know, the force field, and call ourselves Double F Posse. So we were the Double F Posse, and we thought we were so cool.
Okay.
So we were performing at talent shows, you know, in the region and around Switzerland, and you know, and that's where I started to produce my first songs with that group, with like a simple like, you know, music editing software, and it was like, I can't remember what it was called. Was it called Hip Hop EJ or something? Hip Hop EJ, yeah. So you had like all these samples, like ready-made samples, like drum loops, and then you had like keyboard loops. You had like you know, bass lines. You could just throw on top of it. It was very simple. It was more like a kiddie thing, but I made my first demos creating, you know, creating songs with these samples, these ready-made samples, and we'd go and perform with them, and no one ever knew that it wasn't produced by me, you know. So yeah, so that's how I got my feet wet with production, and you know, just humble beginnings, I guess, you know.
Where did Double F Posse reach? Did it get any attention or traction in Switzerland?
I wouldn't say on a national scale. No, more of a regional thing. I mean, we didn't like sell any copies or anything. Like we didn't even produce an album. We were just like performing with our demos and hoping someone would find us cool. And but we were the first hip hop group to perform on this. It's called the Das Floß in Basel. And that means basically it's like yeah, we got the River Rhine going through Basel, right? And they put this sort of stage on the Rhine, so you had to sort of reach it by going over this sort of ladder thing. And we were the first hip hop group to perform on that in front of an audience. And we were like, wow, this is crazy, you know. And that's probably the biggest thing we ever did. And of course, all these talent shows that we were like top 3. You know, I don't think we won one though. I think we were just like top 3. And later down the line, with my then ex-girlfriend, she was like my first proper girlfriend. I was walking downtown on a Saturday night. We went to the movies together. Went to see, I think it was Titanic, and yeah, she wanted to. I couldn't stand the dude at the time, but I just did it.
But I did cry when Jack died. So when he was on the Jack, wake up.
Well, she was such a fan of DiCaprio, and I was hating. I was jealous. So when he eventually died, I was like, yes.
Oh, I had a tear, but yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, after the movies, walking down the street, and this guy I knew came up to me, and he said, "Hey, how you doing? And how's the music going?" It's like, "Yeah, it's cool, it's all right." And he says, "Well, listen, I've got this R&B group I'm currently singing with right now, and they're missing that they need an extra member. And the thing is, I don't have time anymore, and I need someone to replace me." Now, and I was like, okay, so
this is a stranger, or did you know him from somewhere?
No, I knew him, like, just casually.
Okay, okay, it wasn't that he. Okay, I'm just thinking some stranger walks up to you, says you want to join a group.
No, it wasn't a stranger, but I didn't know him at the time, and but we were friendly, we were cordial, and I said, well, I don't know if I can sing. I said, I mean, it sounds great because, I was thinking, oh, New Kids on the Block, what they did. Oh, I could possibly doing this as well, And so, yeah, he said, well, why don't you sing something for me? I said, oh, God, you crazy? Like in the middle of town in front of everyone? What? On the street corner here? You stupid? So I was like trying to sort of gather my mind, like, oh, shit, what should I sing for him? And what can I sing even, And so I sung a song. Don't ask me what it was. I can't remember. And I think it was some sort of New Jack Swing song I was into at the time. And I sung it for him. And he's like, wow, that's really cool. Man, you need to come. Why don't you come on Tuesday? I'll hook you up with the guys. Let's see if we can, if we can vibe. I say, oh, okay. Like, I didn't even know if it was good or not, I had no idea. And then, so we walk away and my ex-girlfriend says, I didn't know you could sing. And I said, neither did I. And so that following Tuesday, I went to meet the guys, and we had this sort of rehearsal. And the song they were sort of rehearsing at the time was "In the Still of the Night," the Boys to Men version.
Okay.
And they were like, "Well, why don't you try and just join in and try and fit in somewhere in the harmony?" And I was like, "Okay." So yeah, you've got the bass there, you got this there, you got that. So they're missing a high, they're missing a falsetto. So I tried to do a falsetto over the top. Don't ask me how it sounded, but they thought it was really cool. And they're like, "Yo, you can really sing." I was like, "Really? This is crazy." Like, I'm just discovering that I apparently have a voice and I can sing. So yeah, the other guy left the group, and they kept me, and we formed a brotherhood, and we started rehearsing in one of the guys' garages at his place. That was like our little rehearsal room. That sort of, his dad had to take the car out, so we had some room in the garage to perform and do our dance steps and stuff. And yeah, so humble beginnings there. We worked with some local producers and did our first demo, started performing with the first demo we actually recorded as a unit was a cover version of Albie Shaw's "If I'm Not Your Lover."
Okay.
And that was my proposal because I thought it was such a cool record, and I think we could sort of modernize it a little bit, and it's got some nice harmony parts in there that we can vocalize as a group. And that's what we did. So we recorded a version of that, and listening back to it, I'm like, "Oh God, it's horrible." But humble beginnings, and you just get better with time. And we started entering, all these talent competitions. We went to these auditions, to castings for groups. There was like one group that was casted in Germany called Us Five, and they became huge in Germany after that. And we were like, "Do you know what? Why don't we just drive up there? It's a 4-hour drive. Let's introduce
4
ourselves."
hours.
Yeah, it was up. I think it was in Cologne. I think.
Okay.
We all took the day off work or off school, and we drove up there. And yeah, we went to this casting, and we sung for these judges, and they were like, "Wow, you guys are really cool. I love the look. I love the image." Because it was me, the white guy. There were two Thais, and there was a Kenyan guy as well, who's my best friend to this day, Dennis.
Wow.
Excuse me. So we were very, multiracial, mixed race group, and but they loved our image and our swagger. We were looked up to B2K and 112 at the time. The whole swagger,
Okay.
with the shiny suits, the leather and all that stuff. So we turned up in our, in our outfits, and we sung for them. I think we sung "Shy," "If I Ever Fall," and they were very impressed.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and they said, "Well, we're looking for like individual members, not full groups."
What?
Yeah, so you guys are great, but yeah, we're gonna have to give this a thought. Why don't you go and wait in the room next door? So basically, went to the other room, and they gave us a sheet of paper where we had to sort of fill in the questions, answer the questions like, are we available? Do we have a job? Are we at school? Do we have girlfriends? What's the earliest we could join the group if we had the possibility? And we had to have all these numbers on, like when you go to X Factor or something.
Expected. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we all wore these different numbers, and so we're filling out this form, and one of the judges comes back, and he says, "Number such and such." I don't remember the number I had on me, but he was like, "Yeah, can you please come back?" So we were all looking at each other like, "Who's got that number?" And I looked down, and we're like, "Oh, it's me! Shit, okay, you want me?" He's like, "Yeah, come on." So I went back, and I was scared shitless. I was shitting bricks, like literally, because I didn't have my guys around me anymore. This is just me now. When you're a group, you feel stronger, you feel more confident, and
Yeah.
so yeah. And he was like, "So yeah, we think it would be a great fit for the group, but we want to hear you sing again." I was like, "Wow, okay. So what do you want me to sing?" And they said, "Well, do you know any boy group songs? Like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC?" I said, "I don't really know them, no, because I don't listen to these groups. I mean, of course, we all know a chorus or two, because they're on the chart, on the radio, but I couldn't sing you a full song or a verse." And they were like, "Well, sing the chorus then." And I thought, "Shit, what should I sing? What should I sing?" And I sung "Tearing Up My Heart" by NSYNC.
Okay.
And they were like, you know, they were just like no mimic at all. They were like super poker face, and they were making their notes and looking at me, and you know, you didn't know what they were thinking. And they were like, so why don't you take your bandana off? Because I was wearing these bandanas at the time. That was like my little accessory, you know. That was my. And so I took it off, and they were writing down their notes, and they're like, okay, blonde, blue-eyed, cool. So yeah, that was great. We'll be in touch. So I left the room thinking, what the hell just happened? What was this? And I walk in the room, and they were like, so, hey, what was that about? What happened? And I told them, I said, listen, I had to sing this song and such and such. And they looked at me and my look, and they were making these notes, and they said they'll probably call me back. And they looked at me like stone-faced, like, wow, like, okay. So it was more of a like, why him, not me sort of situation. So a bit of jealousy between us there. And that was probably like the second most silent ride home, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. So they were like, so what are you going to do if they call you back? Are you going to leave the group? Are you going to go with this new group? What's going to happen? And I was like, no, of course not. You're my family. You're my guys. I want to be with you guys. I want to make R&B music. I don't do this soft pop music. What are you talking about? And so eventually they did call about 2 weeks later. They would like to, you know, invite me to a recall, to another audition. And I declined because just out of loyalty to my group. I said, nope, that's not what I want. And yeah, obviously I had a guilty conscience. And second of all, well, most importantly, I just didn't want to do the type of music they were trying to create with this group.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just wasn't what I was about. And I was just so sure from a very early age about what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. And yeah, so that opportunity fell through my lap. I could have been one of the, you know, biggest pop groups at the time.
So is it a case where they're probably trying to put together a boy band and they just needed different, they were just looking at different people to see if they could fit?
Yeah, exactly. Like they wanted a tall, dark guy, like the Kevin of Backstreet Boys. They wanted a black guy. They wanted the blonde guy, just so he could sort of, appeal to every sort of demographic, you know. Yeah, but I wasn't feeling it. So that was that. Yeah, and we just continued to try and make a name for ourselves in Germany and Switzerland and performing at clubs and going on this tour because I actually set up a tour for the group. I was in my apprenticeship at the time. I was doing like a commercial apprenticeship. And whenever my boss left the office, I had my own little office, my own little corner. She'd be like, don't stay too long. You should go home soon. I was like, yeah, sure, we'll do. And then she would leave and no one would be around. And then I'd use my office telephone to call up these clubs because I didn't have internet at home at the time. So I had to use the internet at work to find out, the numbers of these clubs. And I'd call up the clubs and I'd put on this sort of fake accent as like and acting like I was the group's manager in a sort of American accent, like a Black American voice, And I sold it. I sold the gig. Like I set up a tour about 5-6 dates all over Germany. And we'd go to these spots and go to the sound checks. And quite often, like the club managers would be like, so where's your manager I spoke to? And I'll just have to say, well, you know what? He's on tour with another group that he's managing right now. So he had to send us by ourselves. And, that's that. And so, yeah, he thought that was, well, they thought that was a bit weird sometimes, because no new group goes without a manager or even an assistant. So there was this one instance where one of the Thai guys in my group, he didn't speak very good English. Like he could sing okay, with the pronunciation, all that stuff, it would sound okay. But the actual speaking part was, it was quite awful. So he blew our spot at one point. We were at this club, we're doing a sound check. And after the sound check was done, the manager came up to us. The club manager was like, so you guys done? You good? Yeah, we were like, cool, yeah. And the Thai guy, his name was CJ, he says, so guys, let's go food something. Go food something.
Oh, what does that mean?
Food something, like not go eat something. He'd say go food something.
Okay.
The club manager's like scratching his head like, what is going on with these guys? They're not an American group. what the hell?
So you were pretending to be American. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we're pretending this is an international group because we knew, like, if we were going to say we were from Switzerland, they weren't going to take us seriously. Like,
Okay.
R&B group coming from Switzerland, what are you talking about?
Okay.
So he blew up our spot, and I think after the second song, the performance in the club, he just turned off our mics. He just sort of gave it back to us. Like, he just sort of really sort of took revenge on us.
Wow, goodness.
It was quite a situation, and we didn't get paid either. He basically chucked us out the club. It was, I think he sort of did his homework and probably, did the math and figured out, okay, these groups are a bunch of imposters. So
Wow. But then, did you ever then? I mean, did you then decide to continue, or did you stop and focus on something else?
Yeah, we did continue. We actually had this manager eventually, and by the name of Tom Bezer, that was his name. He was from Germany, and he had heard our demo through someone. He contacted us and asking us if we needed a manager. And we're like, so who's this Tom Bezer guy? So we went to this meeting with him at his crib. And we walk in the crib, we see all these plaques on the wall. Oh my God, what? This guy, okay, he's done something, and it was like all these sort of Eurodance acts, like Snap at the time, or
okay.
Milli Vanilli, like Fabrice Morvan. You interviewed him early on.
Yeah. No, not yet. Not yet.
And he was managing him. And who else? There was like this group called Erotic, and all these sort of these sort of dance Europop dance groups. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, he's done this and that, but does he really understand their music? So we sit down, and he's talking about wanting to manage us and what he sees in us and what he thinks he could do, or what our potential is. And then he says, well, guys, why don't you sing something a cappella? So we're like, okay, cool. So we sung End of the Road by Boyz II Men, the chorus. And he was like, are you guys serious? That's amazing, he said. I never had a group from Switzerland sing like you guys before. There's so much we can do with you guys. I'm going to call up a producer right now in Mannheim, Germany, and we're going to lock down a studio date. And so he got us on the phone to this producer who'd done like tons of hits. And he made us sing down the phone for him. So we sung End of the Road by Boyz II Men again. And he's like, yo, listen to these guys I got. Listen to these guys. And we sung, and the producer was like, stop pulling my leg, Tom. That's the CD you're playing, isn't it? I said, no, these guys are live. I said, what? Send them right now. So, the following weekend, we went up to the studio, and we recorded a cover version of Janet Jackson's That's the Way Love Goes.
Wow.
That was supposed to be our first official single as a group with an actual professional management. And I was so proud of the rendition that we did. We did such an awesome job with that song. Male harmony, male vocal harmony group doing a Janet Jackson song, and it was groovy. And I actually wrote my own rap to that song and performed it on there, and it was so dope. And unfortunately, something else happened down the line, which led to us not getting the song ever. So I don't have a copy of that song, unfortunately. A little bit later, we went to this meeting with BMG Areola in Munich. Tom Bezer, our manager, set up this meeting, and he wanted to get us signed. And we were at this long sort of conference table, 2 execs from the label and 1 A&R guy. And the first thing they said was, you guys look great, but you do know that R&B does not work in Germany or Switzerland, right? So you're going to have to adapt. And I was like, oh God, here we go again, So they start playing these demos. And one of the songs, the first song they played was quite in a similar style of Quit Playing Games with My Heart by Backstreet Boys, like super fluffy and boy groupish. And I was like, oh God, rolling my eyes and shaking my head like, oh God, nah, no way. And my manager's looking at me, doing all these antics at the table. He's like, pull yourself together, just be quiet. I was like, okay. So they played the next song. It was like a really sort of heavy, sort of Westlife-ish pop ballad, like super sugary sweet. I was like, and I just burst out laughing. I just went,
Okay.
I looked at the guys and they're looking at me like, just calm down, stop messing it up for us, And then they played the third song. And then I got up and left. I just got up and left. I said, listen, guys, you can sign this contract if you want to. I'm out of here. And I walked out the room. And I waited in the car, or next to the car, waited for them to come down. So basically, I got really told off by my manager for messing up the whole situation. And that was the longest ride home for me, because they didn't speak a single word. And of course, they were mad at me because I just blew up the whole situation. And they were so eager to sign a contract, become famous, and have that breakthrough. And I was like, nope, not me. Wow. So that ended up with us having like a final meeting as a group. They said, well, Denny, we need to come, we need to talk to you. Why don't you meet us there and there? I knew exactly what was going to go down. They were trying to probably, throw me out of the group because I'd messed it up for them. Yeah. And that's exactly what they did. We met up in the McDonald's, like super swanky, right? So great place to have a breakup, in the McDonald's. And they basically told us, well, we don't want you to be in the group anymore. We're kicking you out, and we're going to find a replacement for you so we can, continue on. I was like, you don't need to kick me out. I've kicked myself out. I'm leaving the group. What are you talking about? I'm done with this shit. So, and of course, we messed that whole situation up with the producer because we didn't get the demo back because, Tom couldn't, get us a deal anymore. And the whole thing fell through with the producers because they weren't recording anymore because I wasn't a part of the group anymore. So I never got the copy of the Janet Jackson cover, which is a shame.
But in hindsight, though, did you not think longer term?
Yeah, but you know what it's like. I mean, it very rarely happens that when you come out of a pop boy band that you get taken seriously as an R&B artist or an R&B enthusiast later down the line, because I mean, Justin
Timberlake, yeah,
but he's like the odd one out though. Like how many artists that come out of pop bands and do R&B and are successful? Look at Jordan Knight, for example. He tried the R&B thing after he came out with New Kids on the Block.
I think the timing though, because the timing, because I think by the late 90s, there was a shift. There was more of an acceptance. I mean, because all the early stuff was just mainly the same audience. Yeah. And I think it's also getting the right producers because Justin had, they went for Timbaland and the Neptune, so they gave them so you couldn't mistake the beat. But I guess most people, and I may be the only one here, most people might think you've got a chance to get on the biggest stage and get the exposure and go from there if it does work out.
But to me, it was too much. Selling my soul, that's like doing something I don't want to do. I don't want to be up on these stages singing songs I'm not convinced that that this is for me. I just have a real problem with fakeness. I can't be fake. I just cannot do it. I've got to be myself, and I've got to stand behind what I believe in, and do what I'm passionate about. Otherwise, I'll probably be ill. Yeah.
But then after that opportunity, did you then give up on music, or did you? What was the transition to becoming a producer?
Well, basically, I was like, well, screw these guys. And so I started working with this. I got signed to this hip hop label in Basel here out in Switzerland, which was quite famous in Switzerland. They were putting out a lot of big Swiss rap acts. And the producer, he hadn't really sort of worked with an R&B singer before. So he accepted the challenge. And I accepted the challenge of being with a hip hop producer because I grew up sort of listening to and loving hip hop at the same time as R&B and New Jack Swing. So I thought maybe his hip hop influence would be dope. So we can make some hip hop soul together, And so I was signed as a solo artist, and we did a couple of demos. And there was this other artist, which shall remain unnamed, on the label. He was an R&B artist too. He was a budding R&B artist, and he saw me as competition. He was jealous, and he tried to sort of elbow me out the way and trying to sort of steal my studio time. And he got his way somehow. The producer, he was able to be talked into it, and it just got too stupid for me. I was like, fuck this, like, sorry for, for the cursing, but I was like, to hell with this shit, I'm just over it now. And at the time of me being in the group, which was around 2001, I was simultaneously teaching myself how to DJ. So this was like a little side passion of mine, I was doing for myself. And that came about, well, I got that bug because I was listening to hip hop records. And what really influenced me was DJ Steve D, cut technician, who was the DJ on Die and Rex and Effect albums. So if you remember the song Here We Come by Rex and Effect from the Hardest album, I used to love that joint. And it had all those dope sort of James Brown scratches on there. I'm coming, And I tried to emulate that sound just by scratching my nail on my jeans, because when you scratch your nail in jeans, that sound,
Okay.
And that was me trying to figure out, okay, what was the movement to create that sound? Okay, so he's pushing the sample forward, so I have to push the finger forward when I'm scratching, and then I'd watch this club DJ called DJ Ska. He was like my favorite club DJ at the time. He was in all the local clubs, and he was playing all like the exclusive R&B stuff. He had all the import stuff, and he'd be playing stuff. I was like, wait a minute, I don't know this. What is this? What is this what is this remix I've never heard before? And I was a collector. I knew my shit. And I was like, what is this? So I went up to him and said, so what is this record you're playing? He says, well, it's this exclusive white label promo remix of such and such. It's not on CD. I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I'm hearing music that I want, but I don't have a record player. So what did I do? I went out and bought a record player, a turntable. And with that one turntable, I started scratching. Like, I didn't have a mixer. I just bought that one turntable so I could collect the music that he had too.
Okay.
But I started to just, scratch back and forth just to sort of get the gist of it, And then I just caught the bug, and I was like, do you know what? I need a second turntable. I need a mixer. I need to really sort of, something of this. I really like doing this. This is really fascinating for me. And so one thing led to another. I bought the equipment, was expanding my record collection, and got into, buying vinyl records now, not just CDs. And within a short time, I had a lot of records. I spent all my money from my apprenticeship on records. So I had my first gig in a church cellar because a friend of mine, she was celebrating her birthday party in the cellar beneath a church. And she didn't have a DJ, but she wanted one. She didn't know any. And she said, what, you're starting DJ now, aren't you? And I said, yeah, but I don't know if I'm any good yet. I mean, I don't really dare to sort of play in front of audiences yet. She said, well, why don't you just try? I'm sure you'll be fine. So I took all my equipment with me and all my records, and I jammed the night away. And they were having a whale of a time. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, wow, these people are really catching the vibe of what I'm doing. They're really enjoying themselves. I think I want to continue doing this. And after that gig, one of the girls that was there at that party, she put in a good word for me with his club manager, and he took a chance on me and booked me for a gig alongside a legendary DJ out here called DJ Def Cut, and and one thing led to another again, and I just got recommendations, and I was being booked, and it just never looked back, and it's just turned into something quite great, and I've been doing this for 22 years now. So that was my different way of expressing my love for R&B,
I mean, we hear about how DJs started to turn into the production side, so from Eddie F and Premiere, I don't know if Marley Marl. You hear a lot of them. How they made that even DJ Cassidy. He did production on Mary's new album.
Yep.
How did you move then from being a DJ to the producing side and doing even remixes?
That was just me experimenting. I had these records I had sort of, gathered within time, and One of the records was For the Night by Music Soulchild. I really love that song to this day. And I just started using acapellas from other records, and I just sort of, tried Ashanti's Rock With You, oh baby. And I tried to blend them together. I was just trying out things, just sort of seeing, if I could create my own remix. And that was my very first remix that I did. It's actually on YouTube. It's the very first remix. It's more of a blend than anything else. And I put a rap by Fabulous on there, which is from the Fabulous Tamia song "So Into You."
Yeah.
Just I thought it needed a rap section, so I just threw on a rap on there. It is quite out of sync with the beat, but Humble Beginnings yet again. That was my first ever remix, and you can find it. Just put in Ashanti Rock With You DJ Soulchild remix, and I just recorded that on a crappy editing software. And again, I caught the bug and was like, okay, this is cool. So I can make my name, I can make a name for myself in other ways. And actually pressed up a couple of copies on vinyl of this remix, this Ashanti Music Soulchild remix that I did. And I gave them to DJs, local DJs. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy myself anymore. And that was just like a little hustle I did, and it's just to test the waters, and just things just developed from there. And then I bought Logic, the Logic software.
Yeah.
Started playing around with that, the early version of it. And just developing from that, and eventually buying a keyboard, learning, chords and structures, and it just takes time.
So, I mean, if people were trying to say who are some of the big stars or artists that you've done a remix for, would they contact you directly or their management, or would you just get a song that you enjoy, do the remix, and it's separate? They're not involved.
Yeah. Well, it used to go both ways, actually. Of course, I had to make a name for myself first. So at first, what you're doing is, you're creating these remixes and you're pitching them to the artists, and you're like, so yeah, I did this remix of your song. What do you think of it? And either they think it was cool and that would be it, or they'd be like, oh, okay, so we need to release this, And my first ever official remix was, I think it was this rapper from California called The Ville, and he was like big on MySpace at the time. He had like run up the numbers on MySpace. He was like doing, and this guy, this PR guy from the UK, called John, he hit me up. He said, "Listen, I need this remix. I heard this remix of yours on YouTube, and I figured, hey, you could do something dope with this record." So I was like, "Okay, cool, let's try." So he sent me the acapella, and Kelly LaRock, the UK R&B soul singer, she was on the track as well. And so I was like, "Oh, okay, Kelly LaRock, nice, okay," because I liked her stuff. And I did this remix, and he promoted it to all the DJs, in the country, and you can find that on YouTube as well. It's called The Ville featuring Kelly LaRock. I can't remember anymore what it's called. See, it's that far back. But, it just sort of developed from there. And I was getting requests to do remixes. Some came out, some didn't come out. Just the nature of the industry, I guess, and and people involved, managements and stuff. I did this remix for MC Lyte back in 2015. She had a song called what was it called? It was like a comeback single after many years.
Not the one with Escape.
No. That was in the 90s already. That was 97, wasn't it?
Okay, and it wasn't iRock or.
No. It was 2015. This is 2015 I'm talking about.
Wow.
I can't remember the name. Crave. That's Crave. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the name of the song, Crave. And so MC Lyte sent me the acapella and said, "Hey, why don't you do something with this?" And of course, I was like super honored because this is MC Lyte, like wow. And I didn't expect to be paid for it. This was like an honor for me. This was, this is one for the, for the references,
Yeah.
And that would probably help me get further. So I did that remix, and it turned out really nice. And I sent it to her. She liked it, and she was like, "Yeah, well, I'm going to see, what my manager thinks of it, and we're going to put it out." And
but how did she know you? How did she reach out to you?
I do not know. I really do not know. This is really weird. I've had these sort of encounters like many a time actually. Like I went to New York back in 2015, and I went to this show. It was like the Death Squad show at the BB King's in New York City. Well, New York City, and it was Eric Sermon, it was Redman, Daz
Keith
Effect,
Murray.
Keith Murray, DJ
Mm.
Scratch, and I knew Keith Murray's DJ through Twitter. We you know, we were really cool, and we met up in New York, and I rolled with Keith Murray, went backstage, and then Keith Murray's DJ Goomba, he introduced me to Eric Sermon, and Eric Sermon turns around and says, "Soulchild, yeah, I know who you are." I'm like, "What? How? Like, this is crazy." Like, yeah, I have no idea how people sort of latched onto me somehow. They must have heard some remix somewhere, you know,
But
or
when
some.
Light reached out to you, was it on Instagram or Twitter or email?
It was email.
Wow.
Yeah, I think she probably found my email in my Twitter account or something in the bio section or something like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have no idea. I didn't even ask her, you know.
But that's one thing that anyone that's watching. It's important just to always be on your game and be excellent because these guys do watch. I remember Lily sending a message back in 2020. So that's about 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
When she was watching Tabitha Duncan of Cut Close's interview, and she
Mm.
was like, "Damn, these labels are messed up." And I'm like, Lily's actually commenting, and then
Yeah.
Coco says that she watched the Timmy Gatlin interview, but they don't post. And I think Kenny, our good friend Kenny Whitehead, when
Oh, I
I
love
spoke to,
Kenny. Bye.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I spoke to Kenny last week, he says, he comments, but he doesn't use his name. So that's what I'm just trying to say, that a lot of these guys are, seeing your work, but they're
Incognito.
keeping quiet until they meet up with you. So,
Yeah.
when did the manager say he liked when she went back to the manager about the remix she did for MC Light?
Well, it's a she actually. She's called Lynn Richardson, and I never heard back from the remix. I think they sort of ditched the whole promo release altogether because I think the single came out and the video did as well, but there was no other single release from that particular album. I think the album was called Legend. And what's up, Ronnie? It's my boy Ronnie in the place. Um, yeah, so I don't think she released any more singles, and I don't know. It just disappeared as quickly as it came, and there were
Okay.
just no plans left for that remix. No idea. And I did ask. I did sort of hit them up and sort of try and chase them up, say, hey, what's going on with the remix? And Light was like, hey, just have patience, we're working on it. And nothing happened. And I was like, oh man, this could have been such a great opportunity, And
Mm,
but we met actually about 3 years later in Switzerland when MC Light came out for a show. And so I met Lynn, I met MC Light, and we were in cool terms. And
mm.
I actually asked about the remix. I said, Lynn, what happened to that remix I did? I got back to you, didn't I? I wrote you an email. I said, no, you never wrote back to me. And so she was like, scurrying through her emails, trying to find the email she sent me. Didn't find anything, of course. Trying to prove that she did write to me, but she never did. But I was like, yeah, whatever. Listen, it's cool. Whatever, And we just left it at that. And yeah, and then with other remixes, for example, I've worked with Sadat X of Brand Nubian.
Mm.
I paid him to be on that remix because I just wanted him. And
Wow.
yeah, I just thought he was a great fit for the remix. And that was a song by Keith Robinson, who's an actor, Hollywood actor. He was in Dreamgirls. He was in what's the other name? I think it's an Eddie Murphy film he was in. And he was also in. Oh, he was the Green Power Ranger.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
he's in like a
Okay.
whole number of different Hollywood films, and
Yeah. Yeah.
very
Yeah.
talented. And he does R&B on the side as well. And so I did an official remix for him, and I thought, what, Sadat X would be a cool inclusion on the remix. And I paid Sadat. I just hit up his management, said, listen, I want a verse from Sadat, and they're like, yeah, cool. Sent it back, and that was it, And I PayPal'd them the money, and it was just about me building up a reference list, like people I've
Mm.
worked with. So that would open up doors to other artists who would then eventually approach me, so, and that's what happened really.
I mean, so where are you at now when it comes to being a producer and stuff? What are you still doing? What are you focusing on now?
Whew, I'm literally at the busiest time of my life right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't see this coming because I had quite a break last year. I didn't really put out a lot of music or remixes because of the health state of my mum, who passed away in September, mid-September,
Wow.
from cancer and leukemia. So yeah, I wasn't in the right state of mind to release a lot of music last year. I did release 2 official remixes, and they both did quite well. But yeah, otherwise I wasn't very creative at all, and I was spending all the time with my mum. And then as of January, I just told myself, I need to pick myself up again, because I was really sort of hurt the first 3 months of her passing, and not finding much inspiration or willpower to do much with my time. And I said, you know what, as of 1st of January 2023, that's it. I've got to get back on my grind. I've got to get back on my hustle. And so I decided to put out my debut single, which is DJ Soulchild featuring Sadia, a rapper from New York, and the R&B singer Barry Antoine, who's also from New York, both from Harlem. And I put that out in January, and that was supposed to come out a year before. But of course, due to the whole situation with my mum and me being in hospital a lot, I didn't really find time to sort of, finish it properly. So I decided to make that first step, put out that single. And after that, I just had all these requests coming in from independent artists. Some I'd already spoken to, the previous year about working together. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
Like, do something together one day. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Is what it is. And just all of a sudden, I had all these artists hit me up, saying, "Listen, I need this remix, or I need this. I want you to be on the album that I'm working on." And I'm actually working with Nelson, who used to be signed to Bad Boy with Puffy in 2000. Okay. We've got something coming out. I've done an official remix for him. I'm working with an R&B artist from the States. She's independent. She's called Kim Tavar. And I'm doing an album track for her, which is very like 80s influenced.
Wow.
Like if you sort of think Midnight Star, Atlantic Star, that time, that sort of electro funk R&B sort of thing. So I've got that coming. And yeah, shouts out to Ronnie. He hooked that up, by the way. Yeah, so he's her right-hand man in the UK. He does like a lot of promotion for her. So shouts out to you, Ronnie. And I'm working with my God, who am I working with? I've got so many things going on. It's just, my mind is just like, on overload at the moment. And I'm not seeing my family a lot. Wow. My girlfriend is really having a bad time with me at the moment because I'm not home. Working on my next single. Yeah, so much coming out. Oh yeah, Beckwith. I got to give a shout out to my boy Beckwith. He's an R&B pop singer from the UK, from London. And we've been speaking about doing something together. And he had like 2 top 40 hits with his last singles.
Okay.
And he was number 2 on the iTunes chart, UK iTunes chart. And the funny thing is about this remix, the song is called Can't Beat the Weekend. So it's like a double entendre, it's like a, double meaning. So basically, both times he was in the top 2 on the iTunes chart, he always lost to The Weeknd. And I wrote in the comments in his post when he posted like he was number 2 and he couldn't push The Weeknd off the top. I said, you just can't beat The Weeknd. It's just impossible. And so he wrote a song, and now it's a party song about you can't beat The Weeknd because The Weeknd's the best part of the week.
Okay.
It's written in such a very clever way that you understand, okay, it's also about the situation about him not being able to literally beat the artist The Weeknd.
Okay.
So it's really cool. And yeah, I've done like this sort of groovy throwback R&B sort of remix for him, like really cool party joint, and it's going to be released in July. Yeah, the thing with Kim Tavar is going to be May. Yeah, a whole bunch of others, and they all want their releases done by summer. They all want the release done by summer. So I'm stressed out. I'm juggling all these projects right now, about 5 of them all together, and trying to meet deadlines, and make sure that everything gets released accordingly. So yeah, I'm very busy.
Yeah, I mean, especially with, I mean, when the famous story of Teddy Riley's Jane Child remix,
Yeah,
"Don't Want to Fall in Love," which he says, resurrected his career,
saving
and
grace.
so yeah,
Mm,
and remixes when who was I? Teddy first said, a remix was a new song, then and then Puffy took that to another level as well with saying,
mm.
yeah, we just don't do a remix, we do a whole new song.
Right, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, I
So,
mean, what is it that you want us to look out for now, and in the coming weeks for yourself? The main things.
well, definitely, I want people to listen to the single I put out in January, because it was a long time coming, and it was a very difficult process, and and it's very different from what I've done in the past. Like, when you listen to my R&B stuff, it's very influenced by the 90s, 2000s. Like, it's very throwbackish. And
Yeah.
I've also done a couple of New Jack Swing songs as well, remixes.
Ah.
I did you need to go and check that out if you haven't already. I did Nesto Velasquez. That
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yes.
was uptown at the time, right? And he had that one single, and the album never came out.
Yeah.
That was just me having fun. I was just playing around with it. I had the acapella, and I decided to do my own New Jack remix, and that's on YouTube. And you go and listen to that, and it's very authentic New Jack swing. So it sounds like it's right out the '90s. So go and check that out if you.
What's your channel? Your YouTube channel?
It's youtube.com/DJ Soulchild, all one word.
Okay.
But yeah, go and check out my single. And like I said, it's very different. I'm very sort of eclectic in my music taste, and so what I've done with this single is I've sort of merged everything I like, in present day, into one song. So you've got an influence called it's called future funk. There is really no proper label for this music style out there. There's this there are producers by who go by the name of Pomo or Jar Funk or Gene Tonic or K Tronada, for example. You might have heard of K Tronada. They do this sort of future funk style, and I've been loving this style of sort of funky, uplifting, groovy music for several years. Well, since about 2015, actually, when I was in New York, because I was in this hotel and they were playing all this stuff in the background. I was like, what is this? And I was shazamming them, and I really wanted this sort of future funk thing, and I merged it with rap because the Sadia, the rapper, and I've got R&B on there through Barry Antoine doing the vocal in the chorus, and then there's actual Afrobeat breakdown in the middle. So I've got all influences in one song, and I think it kind of threw a lot of people off who were really sort of used to me doing R&B, But I wanted to test myself. I wanted to challenge myself, try and do something different from the norm, and just sort of do something that represents me fully, not just the R&B side of me.
Yeah.
And so you got like the hip hop fans are like, okay, someone's rapping on it, but it's not hip hop. And then you've got the R&B fans saying, well, okay, Soulful's got R&B on it, but it's not really R&B either. So everyone's confused.
Yeah.
But it's a cool song. It's very catchy. It's up tempo. It's about a potential breakup, and that song was actually a real life story, to be honest, because me and the rapper Sadia, we were going through the same thing at the time, or something very similar, and we were telling each other about our relationship and everything and what's going down, and we developed a really good friendship through this this collaboration that we did. And so he decided to write the song about standing in front of a crossroad and not knowing what to do when you're in this relationship. Should you leave? Should you go? And that's what the song is about. And just go and check it out. It's different, but it's cool. It's funky. It's groovy. And I want you guys to just go and check
and
it
they
out.
can see it on your YouTube channel.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lyric video. You can actually read the lyrics as well and sing and rap along if you like. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So all things DJ Soulchild, where should we, if we're trying to follow you, and is this Facebook or Instagram where we can see what you've been up to?
Yeah,
Which
sure.
one is?
Well, I'm quite active on Instagram. So you can go and hit me up there. Instagram at DJ Soulchild, should I say, at DJ Soulchild, all one word. My Facebook fan page is The Real DJ Soulchild, all one word. And you can go to my official website and check out my remixes. I've got my whole discography on there. You can go and preview them and download them if you like. And that's therealdjsoulchild.com. I just recently opened up a TikTok account not too long ago, and I haven't really made friends with it yet. I think TikTok is quite something for, for the younger generation. But I'm on there. I've posted a couple of things. You might want to give me a follow there if you're on TikTok. Also The Real DJ Soulchild. So yeah.
I said The Real DJ Soulchild.
Yeah. Because there are a couple of DJ Soulchilds out there. There's one from Australia, there's one from Germany. And so I just don't want people to get it twisted,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But shout out to yeah.
Okay. So as we get ready to wrap things up, it's good. And as I said, we've got the social stuff in there. I always get an opportunity to ask my guests that if you were stuck on an elevator and it was going to take a couple of hours before they can get you out, what's your favorite movie that you want to watch?
Yeah, do you know what, that one's a very easy one for me, because besides me being a ex-singer, ex-rapper, now producer, DJ, and musician altogether, I'm actually a drummer as well. So yeah, I've been drumming since I was 13, and so when the film Whiplash came out, did you ever see that one with Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons?
Yes.
Amazing movie, absolutely amazing. I think it won a couple of awards like Oscars and for the performance, and of course, me being a musician, I gravitate towards these kind of movies anyway. And then being a drummer, was just like the tip of the iceberg. And it was such an inspirational movie about being passionate about something and really sort of sacrificing everything you have to be the best. And I just drew a lot of inspiration out of that movie, and as a musician, and I just think the acting is phenomenal. The story, the plot is great. The twist at the end of the movie is amazing, unexpected. It's just a really, really good movie. And otherwise, I'm a huge Transformers fan.
As you mentioned.
Yeah. So I still carried that over from my childhood. And so it'd either be that or it'd have to be the first 2007 Transformers movie or Transformers 3 Dark of the Moon.
Okay.
And just as a side note, Transformers Rise of the Beast is coming out this June.
And when it comes to song, what's your favorite all-time song?
Oh man, do you know what? I knew this was coming, and I've been dreading this. I do not have a single answer for that. I'm not doing this, Namdi. I'm not doing it. Nope.
No. We all have. I mean, we all have. We've all got our go-to song.
Yeah, I know. But I listen to so much music because I curate Spotify playlists on a weekly basis. So I've got my ears to new music every single week. And as a DJ, I mean, that's part of my responsibility as a DJ is to play new music. So there's so much music I love out there that it's impossible for me to pick one single song. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break the rules, whether you like it or not. I'm going to give you a top 5.
Okay.
I'm going to try and think of a top 5 songs that I find myself always going back to over and over again, and I never get sick of. So I've given this some thought, but it changes on a daily basis depending on my mood. But my first choice would have to be. Oh, you're gonna probably not hate me for this, but I know that you love "Lady in My Life" by Michael Jackson. My favorite song on that Thriller album is "Baby Be Mine."
Yeah, it's written by Rod, so it was in my, so I did play both of those tracks, and it did make a list for a while. So yeah.
So that's definitely in my all-time favorites. Yeah, I just love that song to death. It's just timeless. So the next one would have to be. So one of my favorite groups of all time is Portrait.
Okay.
And a song of theirs that I find myself listening to over and over again since it came out is All That Matters. I love that song. That ballad is just amazing. The production that Michelangelo Salisbury, the spaced out, airy production,
Mm.
and Irving Washington just killing the vocal and the melody and the actual message of the love song about coming home to your woman, you know, and
Mm.
working late, but you just look forward to coming home to her. Like, who makes these kind of songs anymore these days?
Yeah, there's a
Oh,
lot about
proper
that. Yeah.
R&B love songs where you celebrate love and not, it's just
Mm.
not about, you know, bitches and you know and in the
Yeah.
club and stealing your girl and this and that, you know, just like sort of all this destructive music, man. I'm just so
Yeah.
sick. So yeah, that's definitely my top 5. I love that song to death. Number 3 would have to be Let Me Be the One by Intro.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Kenny Green, one of the greatest
Yeah.
still. And that song is just one of those songs I never get sick of, ever, ever. I just love that song to death. It's just literally these songs I'm naming right now are, to me, perfect songs.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect song to me. Um, Number 4 would have to be I think I'm gonna have to go with Music Soulchild, Yes.
Okay.
Have you heard that song before?
No, I haven't heard it. No.
It's an amazing record. Again, it's a love song about celebrating relationships, and no matter how hard they get, you will always stay with this person. Well, he actually sings, "If you think I'm going to be here several years from now, the answer is yes." So
Oh.
yeah, and it's a really beautiful song. And if you watch the video, it's a very emotional video as well.
Mm.
Shows a woman, well, it shows Music Soulchild, you know, going to his woman's house, and she finds out she's got, you know, cancer, and
Wow.
yeah, it's a very emotional video, and
Mm.
it hits home with me because of my mum. So whenever I watch
Mm.
it, I tear up a little bit, and the whole message of the song is just beautiful. You really need to check it out. It's such an incredible song, very underrated actually. So number 5, yeah, number 5. Do you know? Yeah, definitely. So, do you know the song "Relight My Fire" by Dan Hartman?
Um. No. How does it go? Relight my fire. I'm thinking
Take
of. There's
that.
a.
Take that. They did a cover version of it in the
Oh,
90s.
okay. That's why I think I know the Take That version of it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, forget the take that. I mean, they did a commendable version actually, for a boy group, but the original version by Dan Hartman is an absolute masterpiece of a song. The arrangement, the composition itself. There are 2 versions of that song. There's like a, I think it's a 5 or 6 minute version, and there's the 10-minute version. Now you have to go and listen to the 10-minute version because
Okay.
it's got an added intro on there called Vertigo. So it's Vertigo / Relight My Fire. And that part, that Vertigo part, the way it transitions into Relight My Fire with the like wind effects, I think it's around the 3-minute mark, if I'm not mistaken. And when the song starts, man, I get goosebumps every single time. It's just an
Okay.
incredible song. It's like, to me, it's like the greatest disco record of all time.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
hopefully, I mean, yeah, hopefully, as I said, people would check out the
yeah.
5 different selections that you've made and stuff. Yeah.
Honorable, honorable mention, because I couldn't fit in the top 5, would have to be Chucky Booker Gaines.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay. I'll be
That's
sure to let him know when we bring him on.
Please do, please do, please do. Yeah. He doesn't get enough props, that guy, man.
Yeah, well, I think because he left the industry after the second album,
Mm,
and it's easily to get and forgotten. But you know,
genius. Genius.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you know. But anyway, it's been, guys. So it's been an amazing chat with you.
Likewise.
We've got your YouTube channel up there, DJ Soulchild, one word. So if you want to check out his new single, but also check out his previous remixes and stuff,
Mhm.
it's when we realized that music is a universal language and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You talked about having 2 guys from Thailand. in an R&B group. So it is universal and stuff. But it's great that you have been able to from the tough beginnings, you're still where you are, still doing what you love doing. And for those of us who are R&B heads, there isn't enough good R&B music out there. All the females sound the same. There's no Coco, or there's no distinction in vocals. Like we had Pamela Long and we had Coco, who or whether Dawn Robinson, they were very unique and different. Now, whether you're listening to SZA or Annie Lennox or Summer Walker, if you don't have a super hearing aid, you won't realize who's who and how different they are. So we look for you.
That's the mainstream, though, because I just want to add on to that real quick before we leave. Like I said, I curate Spotify playlists, right? And I've got this Spotify series, this playlist series I do every year, and it's called Real R&B Ain't Dead. And then the respective year behind it. So the actual playlist I've got going now is Real R&B Ain't Dead 2023. And with this playlist, I just want to show people that the real R&B that we love, the sound, the feeling that we miss is still out there. But you just have to dig deeper for it. And so I do all the homework for everyone. I go and dig. I follow like over 1,500 artists on Spotify.
Wow.
So it's a weekly chore for me to update this playlist.
So where can we see that playlist?
On Spotify.
And what do we search it on?
Real R&B Ain't Dead. And you've got all the years I've been doing it for. And trust me, there is amazing real R&B out there. I'm not talking about the same chicks that you're talking about that, in the mainstream all sound monotonous and all have the same vocal style and none of that trap R&B. This is like really super cool, laid back neo soulish, or it could be groovy, like club R&B, like really quality R&B. So go and check that out if you're an R&B fan and you have you're struggling to find the good music these days. I got you covered. Go and check that out and thank me later.
Okay, so Real R&B Ain't Dead on Spotify.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I posted it in, so hopefully people can follow through with that. So, Danny, DJ Soulchild, it's been great hearing your story and hearing your journey. Thanks to your family and friends who've been logging in and supporting you along the way.
Yes.
Remember his YouTube channel where you can visit and get most of his new stuff and plus some of the legacy stuff. Also, remember that. So that's DJ Soulchild. If you just search that on YouTube, then you get his channel. But also on Instagram, the same call handle, which is DJ Soulchild. And then also going on to Spotify and searching for R&B Ain't Dead.
Yeah. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Yes.
And also, by the way, all my remixes aren't on YouTube because I get copyright strikes, because
yeah.
So if you want to hear my whole discography, go to my website, the Real R&B. Sorry, what am I talking about? The Real DJ Soulchild.com, and you'll find my discography there.
Okay, so that would have
everything I've done.
That would have everything that you've done. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see. Something seems like it's missing here. The Real DJ Soulchild.com.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah. So if you go into the Real DJ Soulchild.com, it'll have all his remixes and all his stuff as well. But it's been great. I know it's probably about 11:30 out in Switzerland. So I know it's late. I had an interview with Mila
of 702.
Of 702. When was this? On Tuesday. I didn't finish until 1:45 in the morning.
Wow, that's
So that's the challenges of when we have the time difference. So hence, I know it's late for yourselves and early mornings and stuff, but it's
Yeah.
been great. I thank you guys who have been, who've been following us through the ride for the past hour and a half. Thanks everyone, and definitely it was great hearing your story firsthand as well.
Thank you.
And thanks for giving us the opportunity on halftime chat to be able to hear and celebrate your journey and stuff. And but for anyone else who's thinking about when I've moved countries and things, I'm not in America or New York and I'm not in LA, and how am I going to make or London? You know,
Yeah.
he's out in Switzerland, not an R&B city or hip hop city, but was
No.
able to create a name for himself. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, if you've got the passion, if you've got the talent,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can make it. So it has
Absolutely.
been great hearing your story and your journey. Any final words before we shut down?
Yeah, I think you ended it on a great message. It's not about where you come from or where you're at; it's about where you're going, because everything is so intertwined these days through the internet. The internet is global. You don't have to restrict yourself to your area, and
Yeah.
you just never know who's listening and who's watching. Like we sort of spoke about earlier in the interview about artists coming to me. So believe in yourself. Don't be afraid to be different. Do what you believe in. Stand for something, and yeah, and just be passionate, man. I mean,
Yes,
where there's passion, there's success. So stay passionate.
definitely.
And Namdi, I thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. I've had a great time with you. And yeah, man, hopefully another time. So
Yes,
thank you so
yes.
much for everything, man. Really appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
And
Yes,
shout out to
thank you.
everyone in the comments and all my friends, my fans and my friends, and commenting in there and showing love, man. I appreciate you all, man. Much love,
Okay, take care.
guys. Peace.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the Halftime Chat community. Please like, share, and subscribe. But also, we do have our membership page where a lot of exclusive stuff, a lot of exclusive interviews that hasn't come out. So, look and check that out. But thanks for being part of Halftime Chat, and see you next time. Bye bye.